Welcome to Lola's Frugal Life Podcast. If you're on a mission to be more frugal with both your time and money, you're in the right place. In this podcast, we talk about topics that help enhance living a frugal lifestyle. The goal is to save time and money where we can so that we can use the rest on what matters most to us. We talk a lot about both time and money management so that we can waste as little as possible on both. We do this while also embracing a progress over perfection mindset. If that sounds good to you, then please stick around for the latest episode right after a few quick words from our sponsor. Hi everyone, welcome back to my weekly meal plan episode. In this episode, I share with you the meal plan that I'm going to be using for my family for the upcoming week. There's also a blog post to go along with this on my website at lolasfrugallife.com where you can find the full meal plan, which includes links to any recipes that I mention in the episode. The purpose of this is just to kind of give you some motivation or ideas to get your meal plan together, even if you don't want to make the things that I'm making. A lot of times just hearing someone talk about their meal plan might kind of give you some inspiration or give you some ideas. And meal planning is super important because it helps us save money on groceries by buying the things we're actually going to cook. And it also just saves a lot of time and mental energy in kind of already having your meal plan put together rather than having to wonder every day what's going to be for dinner tonight. And like I always try and make sure I share, I do rotate meals on a frequent basis, so that definitely helps me get my meal plan together quicker because a lot of it's already filled out by the time I get to each week as I'm planning. So this week's meal plan starts on Saturday, June 17th. So I'm going to be making sausage and vegetable sheet pan dinner. This is somewhat of a newish recipe to me, but I've made it a few times now and I really like it. It's from allrecipes.com. The recipe just calls for sausage links as the meat in the sheet pan, but what I have been doing is also cutting up some boneless chicken thighs, or I think the first time I even might have done chicken breast, but the thighs are a little bit better because they don't kind of dry out when they're baking. But however, whatever you like. I just found that adding like a second meat to it kind of worked well for us. So that's what I've been doing for this one, but otherwise it's really easy. Just kind of toss everything together. It's got like broccoli and potatoes and carrots and then the meat, and you just bake it in the oven. Super quick and easy. For this Sunday, I do not have a recipe to share or a meal plan to share because Sunday is Father's Day and we're going to be ordering out that day. So I will not be cooking for Father's Day. For Monday, June 19th, it's going to be our hamburger night. We do hamburgers every other week. So I basically just get ground beef, make it into patties, cook it up on the grill now that it's the summer. And then I'll also be doing oven fresh seasoned potato wedges, which is from allrecipes.com. This is a recipe where you cut potatoes into potato wedges and you toss them in a Ziploc bag with olive oil and Parmesan cheese and some seasonings and bake them in the oven. What I do alternatively for that one, if the weather is hot that day and I don't want to turn on the oven, which is obviously more often happening now in the summer, I just slice up potatoes into thin slices and then I just bake them in the, I cook them up in the air fryer. So if you have an air fryer, that's an alternative way to make them. And then I'll be making a can of pork and beans to go on the side with that. For Tuesday, we always do some type of taco theme meal or Mexican theme meal rather. So for this Tuesday, I'm going to be doing cheesy chicken nachos, which is from realsimple.com. This recipe calls for shredded rotisserie chicken. You can also just use whatever chicken you have, of course. It comes out just as good. And it's just your basic, you lay nachos out on a pan, cover them with the chicken, cover that with some cheese, bake it, and then add your toppings when they come out. It's really good. I love having nachos for dinner. So that's one of my favorites. Tuesday's one of my favorites anyway because most of the Mexican themed meals are quick and easy to make, and I really like those meals too. And it's just an easier night for me. So that's for Tuesday. Wednesday, we usually do seafood. So this week we're doing baked salmon. For the salmon, I just get the individually frozen fillets from BJ's, which if you're not familiar with BJ's, it's just very similar to Costco, sort of. It's like Costco, but it's not as like Costco's bigger, I think. BJ's is a little bit smaller, but anyway, it's the same type of warehouse type store. So what I do is I just defrost the salmon fillets, and then I just brush them with a little bit of olive oil and McCormick Smokehouse maple seasoning, and bake them in the oven at 450 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. They come out perfect. While those are baking, I boil up some egg noodles, and then I toss them with butter, and I'll do some type of frozen vegetables on the side, whatever I happen to have on hand. I usually always keep some of those steam fresh type vegetables that you just pop in the microwave, in the freezer. So I'll just, whatever I have that night that sounds like it'll go good with it, I'll just do that real quick. For Thursday, we usually do soup sometimes with grilled cheese, or breakfast for dinner on Thursdays, because I go food shopping that night and I just like to make dinner a little bit quicker and easier to make. So for this Thursday, I'm going to be doing soup, and I'm going to be making Instant Pot split pea soup, which is from foodnetwork.com. If you've ever made split pea soup before, you know the peas take quite a while to cook, to soften. But if you have an Instant Pot, they cook up really pretty quickly compared to what it takes to do it on the stovetop. So that's for Thursday. For Friday, which is the last meal in this week's meal plan, I'm going to be doing chicken cutlets, which I don't really have a recipe to share. I just take boneless chicken breast, slice it thin, dip it in egg and breadcrumb, and then fry it in a frying pan. And then as a side, I'm going to be making pasta with tomatoes, basil, and garlic. This is a really easy recipe to make. You put tomatoes and basil and olive oil on a baking sheet, and you just bake them until the tomatoes kind of burst open, if I remember right. And then you just mix the cooked pasta with the mixture of the tomatoes, basil, and olive oil. And then of course you can add a little bit more olive oil to that, maybe add some salt or whatever other seasonings you want. So that is it for this week's meal plan. Like I said, you can find this full meal plan along with links to any of the recipes that I mentioned on my website at lolasfrugallife.com. So that's it for this week. I will see you back here next week. So thank you for checking in for this podcast episode. And don't forget, you can always email me with any questions or suggestions at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at lolasfrugallife. And you can find a blog post for most of my episodes and definitely all of my meal plan episodes at lolasfrugallife.com. You can also join our private listeners group at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And I would love it if you would screenshot the show and tag me on Instagram so I could see you're listening. Also, if you can please take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast. Those ratings and reviews are what help the show come up better in search results so that other people can find this podcast. So that will really help me in growing my audience. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an awesome day.